Hi there everyone, it's Jaycee. Welcome back to the channel for another perfect pairing. The BetterPress system is a crafting staple that everyone should have, especially when coupled with Altenew's press plates. If you don't know these 3 BetterPress techniques, you're missing out on some great opportunities to let your backgrounds shine. Before we get into today's project, make sure you subscribe to the Altenew channel for more card making and paper crafting tutorials. My Perfect Pairings with Jaycee series explores crafting techniques that effortlessly blend sure-to-love new releases and well-loved Altenew favorites. If you love these kinds of crafty tutorials, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of my videos airing on the 2nd and 4th Sunday. For this first card, I'm starting with the foreground foundation first. I'm using Bouquet of Poppies, the huge 8.5 by 11 stamp set, and its coordinating stencils and dies to create these focal points. I found a poppy-focused color palette online and used it as my basis for the rest of the elements of this card. I'm stamping 2 of the outline poppy stems in permanent black crisp ink, and I used the SlimGrip mat in my stamp wheel to keep my white cardstock panel in place. I transferred this panel to my sticky mat grid so that I could start adding color to these 2 poppy stems. Like I mentioned, I'm using the coordinating layering stencils to Bouquet of Poppies and Strawberry from Blushberry Bliss fresh dye ink to apply my first layer of color. The layering sequence isn't complicated with this set, so I'm being free-flowing by adding simple gradients between Blush Rose and Strawberry for a lovely halo of color and depth in the center of the poppy stem. For the stem and flower, I need the layers from stencil number 8. And after finishing the flower, I'll use Seashore fresh dye ink to color the stems for a cool shift in the stem. I had a Lawrence Grape Poppy self-seed this past winter. The color palette I chose for this poppy was inspired by the foliage and stem of the Lawrence Grape Poppy. After applying a base of Mountain Mist, I moved on to Volcano Lake to add the detail layer to the stem and leaves of this poppy. I'll repeat this color process with the exact same gradients and colors as the previous poppy stem. All of these images are found on the number 7 stencil in Bouquet of Poppies. I love the almost watercolor appearance of the set. It is such a perfect way to celebrate Altenew's 10th anniversary as a homage to their roots, but also a modern and refreshing take to some previous stamp designs. I used the coordinating Bouquet of Poppies dies to cut these 2 stems, and then I'll move on to the focus of this video tutorial, which is the BetterPress plate. In the Terrific Textures press plate bundle is the Essential Textures Rustic Burlap. We can amplify the use of this plate by creating a distressed and vintage feeling to this card. I think it mirrors the loose and sketched feel of the Bouquet of Poppies bundle. I have a panel of porcelain cotton card panel on my sticky mat grid, and I'm creating a very textured ink blended background on this cotton card panel. I'm using Summer Afternoon fresh dye ink set to create this blend. The wonderful thing about these fresh dye ink sets from Altenew is you can very easily add a block of color to your palette simply by grabbing a set. I'm using a large ink blending tool to apply a gradient of buttercream and warm sunshine to the porcelain panel. Then after adding the panel and rustic burlap to my BetterPress system, I'll create an ink-blended halo of color with caramel toffee toward the center of the panel. You don't have to press hard on the ink pads to add fresh dye ink to the cotton card panel. Then on the edges of the panel, I'll use paper bag for a dark and distressed rim. I'll blend these 2 colors together by using the caramel toffee pad. Then I'll run this through my die cutting machine to press the color and texture onto my cotton card panel. I'll add quick swipes of caramel toffee to the edges of the panel for more of that weathered cardstock look. I think one of the big advantages to the BetterPress plates is being able to add color and texture at the same time, similar to an embossing folder, but with more of a luxurious and professional feel in my opinion. Now I can arrange the poppy stems on my cotton panel, and to harmonize the black outline and white offset cut from the stems, I'll use the jet black and pure white ink sprays, as well as some essential black and white enamel dots. The sentiment strip I used is also from Bouquet of Poppies stamp set, but I partially stamped the sentiment so that it's slightly shorter for my card front. So don't forget to use your cotton card panels just like you would any other cardstock. Apply color to the cardstock and to the BetterPress plate for a harmonious palette with the added bonus of pressed texture. Coming up with cards with more muted or black and white palettes is an easy task, but it's just not as fun to make a card with not a lot of color. However, I understand that sometimes you need these kinds of cards for certain folks in your life, and here's some tips to create some fun card creations with a modern touch. This time I'm starting with the background to this card. In my BetterPress system, I'm using a panel of black cardstock as my background. And the BetterPress plate I'm using is the Essential Textures Wood Press plate. Easily one of my new favorites. So on the previous card, we debossed the texture onto cotton cardstock. This time we can use the BetterPress plate as a stamp and create an embossed texture. I'm using a watermark ink or embossing inks to completely cover the BetterPress plate. I think this technique is great for textures that don't have to be exact, like the previous Rustic Burlap. You can even use this technique on the next BetterPress plate too. So once I've pressed the embossing ink onto this black cardstock panel, I'll use a clear embossing powder to heat emboss. Be sure to remove the panel from your platen before you heat emboss, and just like that we have created an embossed texture as opposed to a debossed texture on the card front. I love the look of this. It reminds me of matte black fixtures in bathrooms for that modern and luxurious feeling. To carry on this theme, I'm using a foiled sentiment from Encouraging Sentiments hot foil plate set and die set. I used another panel of black cardstock to make this sentiment. I also feel like this card needed just one more element to complete, so I used Itty Bitty Branches die set to cut a few of the leaf images from vellum. I arranged these images around the sentiment. Then I embellished and finished this card with some enamel dots. I love the mixture of textures of this card. I think this card is suited for anyone for a fairly quick and sophisticated thank you card, using BetterPress plates as background stamps. For my last card, I'm combining two techniques into one card. I picked the Gilded Marble BetterPress plate for this next technique because it's not an exact pattern and it's asymmetric. So truthfully, you could do this next technique with any of the BetterPress plates you've seen in this card tutorial. I'm going to quickly set up my chase and platen with this BetterPress plate and another panel of cotton cardstock. What I want to do is create a rainbow gradient on the BetterPress plate. Instead of using all 6 main colors of the rainbow, I like to simplify things by using the primary colors. Here's my favorite mix. I use Fresh Lemon from Pocketful of Sunshine first. Then I'll use Heartbeat from Tea Party. With this same color, I'll also apply a little bit to the edge where I want to make purple. Then finally, I'll use Sapphire from Glacier Caves to meet the yellow and overlay on top of Heartbeat to make my purple mix. To create the secondary colors aside from purple, I'll use mini ink blending brushes to diffuse and blend the orange area between Fresh Lemon and Heartbeat. Then I'll diffuse and blend the green area between Fresh Lemon and Sapphire. Then once I've created my full rainbow gradient, I'll run this panel through my die cutting machine, and that finishes this rainbow panel. But we're not done yet. After cleaning my BetterPress plate, I'll add this plate to my glimmer system. I want to rotate my rainbow panel 180 degrees, and this time, instead of applying ink to the cotton panel, I want to apply foil. This is brushed gold foil from Altenew, and I'm pressing this foil texture to my rainbow panel. I was a bit impatient with the heat, admittedly, but what I ended up with was a happy accident. There's a halo of unpressed foil in the center of the cardstock, perfect for the placement of my large sentiment. But before I add the sentiment, I want to add metallic gold speckling. I used the metallic watercolor pan set and gold pearl to further add some gilded marble details. Then finally, I used the Have a Good Day sentiment from Timeless Sentiments 2 die set to make my large statement and sentiment. Again, if you want to take the time to foil and press ink with the BetterPress system, this card would be another one to repeat for your stash. So don't forget to use your BetterPress plates in your foil machine. I'm surprised with the results every time I'm caught in cardstock, and it feels modern and opulent. My series encourages you to shop your existing Altenew stash and rekindle their love with newer releases. Perfect Pairings with Jaycee airs on the Altenew channel every second and fourth Sunday of the month. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Perfect Pairing episode with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.